What do an Indian industrialist, a French aristocrat, and the founder of Amazon have in common? They all organized weddings that went down in history as the most expensive ceremonies. But can you guess which wedding actually cost the most? And most importantly, why did Bezos's wedding cause the biggest protests in the history of billionaire weddings? The answer will shock you more than the ceremony's price. When billionaires get married, ordinary wedding budgets become child's play. But among all the luxurious ceremonies, there is one that exceeded all imagination in terms of expenses and public outrage. We analyzed the most expensive weddings and compared them with Jeff Bezos's epic Venetian ceremony, which is taking place right now. Prepare for shocking figures, unexpected discoveries, and the biggest scandal in elite wedding history. Right now in Venice, a wedding drama is unfolding that could rewrite all records not only for luxury, but also for public outrage. Jeff Bezos, Amazon owner with a net worth of $231 billion, is marrying journalist and licensed pilot Lauren Sanchez in a ceremony whose budget is still kept in strict secrecy. Official sources remain silent, but information leaks speak of sums that make even experienced financial publication journalists double-check the figures. The wedding ceremony is unfolding simultaneously at several legendary Venice locations. The main ceremony is taking place on Bezos's $500 million super yacht, Kourou, one of the largest private yachts in the world, anchored in the Venetian lagoon. This yacht is so large that in 2022, the Dutch city of Rotterdam considered temporarily dismantling a historic bridge to allow it to leave the shipyard. An alternative ceremony venue is the island of San Giorgio Maggiore, famous for its 16th-century church by the great Renaissance architect Andrea Palladio. This island has an open amphitheater overlooking the water, where, according to insider information, a grand surprise related to Bezos's space ambitions is planned. And here arise three main questions. Why does Amazon refuse to comment on the wedding budget, although the company has always been open about corporate expenses and philanthropic projects? Why did Italian media receive an unofficial recommendation not to publish exact expense figures and organizational details? Why are there no representatives from environmental organizations among the 200 invited guests, although Bezos actively invests in fighting climate change? The protests didn't begin spontaneously. A week before the wedding, the hashtag number Venice Not For Sale appeared on social media, gathering over 2 million mentions in 48 hours. But this was only the beginning of the digital revolution against excessive luxury. 95 private jets are flying to Venice over 3 days, creating the biggest private aviation week in the city's history. But the scale of environmental impact stuns even experts. Carbon footprint. 95 private jets in 3 days created CO2 emissions, equivalent to annual emissions of 12,000 ordinary cars. Water pollution. The superyacht Kourou burns 250 gallons of diesel fuel per hour, even while stationary, releasing toxins directly into the already suffering Venetian lagoon. Air pollution. Constant private helicopter flights between locations created a smog curtain over the historic center. Dr. Maria Conti, marine ecologist at Ca' Foscari University. In 3 days of this wedding, the Venetian lagoon received more pollution than it usually gets in a month of tourist season. This is unacceptable for an ecosystem that is already on the brink of survival. Average rental costs in the historic center rose by 40% in a week due to demand for housing from wedding guests. One-bedroom apartments that usually cost €150 per night jumped to €600. 3,000 local residents were forced to temporarily leave their homes due to security measures. They were offered accommodation on the mainland part of Venice, with compensation of €50 per day, a sum that doesn't even cover transportation costs. The Aman Venice Hotel, located in a 16th-century palace on the Grand Canal, raised prices to $32,000 per night for the presidential suite. Even standard rooms cost $8,000, more than the average annual salary in Italy. The island of San Giorgio Maggiore, where Palladio's 16th-century church is located, is closed to the public for 5 days. Thousands of tourists who paid for booked tours cannot access one of Venice's most important architectural monuments. Europe's most famous square has been transformed into a security zone with metal barriers and guard posts. Tourists can only take photos from a distance of 50 meters. The Grand Canal is partially closed to regular water transport. Gondoliers are forced to choose long detour routes, increasing the cost of their services by 300%. Marco Gaspari, head of the Committee for Venice Preservation. This isn't a wedding. It's an occupation. One person has paralyzed an entire city for the sake of his own ego. We're fighting to keep Venice a city for people, not a private resort for billionaires. Tourism industry workers protest. 2,500 gondoliers, guides, and restaurant workers staged a demonstration on the 25th of June with signs, "Our canals are not your decoration," and "Bezos, go home." The protest blocked the Rialto Bridge for 3 hours. Student uprising. Ca' Foscari University organized an education against ostentation action where 800 students held a flash mob around St. Tabor, around Mark's Cathedral, holding cardboard copies of books and calculators with the inscription, "This is what 1 year of university costs," pointing to hotel prices. Environmental activists. Greenpeace Italy launched 20 kayaks with "Climate Criminal Wedding" banners around Bezos's yacht until they were driven away by the Coast Guard. The Venice protests found support in other European cities. In Paris, activists organized an anti-wedding near the Louvre, in London near Buckingham Palace. In New York, Amazon unions organized a picket near the company's headquarters demanding that Bezos spend the wedding money on employee wage increases. While the official wedding cost is classified, our sources in the luxury industry and insiders from the organizers' team provide fragments of the mosaic. Each detail is more shocking than the previous one. Security. $15 million, including hiring a private army of 300 guards, underwater divers for canal patrols, snipers on palace rooftops, and anti-aircraft defense systems. Logistics. $8 million for canal closures, special permits from 12 different Italian agencies, coordination with police and fire services. Location rental. $4 million for exclusive access to San Giorgio Island for 5 days, equivalent to buying a 2-bedroom apartment in central Milan. Transportation. $6 million for a fleet of 50 luxury water taxis, private helicopters, and special landing permits in the historic center. Flowers and decor. $12 million for compositions created over a month. Orchids were delivered from 12 countries, including rare species from Thailand and Colombia. 500,000 white roses were specially grown for this event in Dutch greenhouses. Each floral composition costs more than an Italian teacher's annual salary. Gastronomy. $18 million for a culinary experience coordinated by a team of 15-starred chefs from around the world. The menu includes beluga caviar at $2,000 per kilogram, Piedmont truffles, Bellon oysters, and vintage wines from the Romane Conti collection. Each dish is served on tableware specially made by Venetian craftsmen. Entertainment. According to insider information, $25 million has been allocated for the mysterious final act. There are rumors about involving Cirque du Soleil. holographic projections on palace facades, and even a possible Blue Origin rocket launch directly from the Venetian lagoon. But this is only the visible part of the iceberg. Sources close to Lanza and Bausina organizers hint at special budget items that are not disclosed publicly and could double the total amount. Compensations and gifts. Venice's lost revenue from tourist site closures. $25 million. Compensation to 3,000 displaced residents. $8 million. Additional security costs due to protests. $12 million. Charitable contributions to local authorities for permits. Officially not disclosed, but insiders speak of $30 million. Environmental fines. Italian authorities are already preparing a bill for environmental damage amounting to €15 million, which Bezos has committed to pay. This includes lagoon cleanup from fuel emissions and marine ecosystem restoration. Let's compare the most expensive wedding celebrations in history with Jeff Bezos' recent wedding and see what the difference is. Queen Elizabeth II personally supervised the organization of her grandson's wedding. Westminster Abbey was decorated by hand with 20,000 flowers, including rare orchids from 5 continents. Kate's dress by Sarah Burton for Alexander McQueen cost $434,000 and was created over 5 months by a team of 20 seamstresses. Each pearl and crystal was hand-sewn using special 18th-century needles. Wedding security was provided by 5,000 police officers and special service agents, and airspace over London was closed for the entire day. 1,900 guests at Westminster Abbey enjoyed music from a 400-singer choir, and the wedding banquet at Buckingham Palace included 10,000 canapés prepared by 21 chefs. This was the first royal wedding broadcast in HD quality, and it became a symbol of British monarchy modernization. The son of a Nigerian billionaire organized a wedding that stunned even experienced elite event organizers. The Palace of Versailles was completely closed to tourists for 3 days to ensure absolute privacy for 1,200 guests. Each guest received a personalized gift set worth $50,000, including Patek Philippe Swiss watches and Cartier jewelry. Venetia changed 7 wedding dresses during the week of celebrations, each created by the world's best couturiers. The main dress by Elie Saab was decorated with 50,000 Swarovski crystals and weighed 40 kilograms. The ceremony at Château de Vaux-le-Vicomte was accompanied by a chamber orchestra performance of 80 musicians, and the fireworks lasted 45 minutes and were visible from space. Kylie Minogue performed specially adapted versions of her hits in Versailles' Hall of Mirrors, and the wedding cake in the shape of a castle weighed 500 kilograms and was decorated with real diamonds that guests took as souvenirs. Even flowers were delivered every morning by special flights from Holland, Ecuador, and Kenya. The daughter of Mukesh Ambani, Asia's richest man, received a wedding that exceeded all notions of luxury. The celebration lasted 7 days in 3 different locations: Mumbai, Udaipur, and Jodhpur. The Lake Pichola Palace in Rajasthan was completely bought out for a week, and all 1,000 guests received full business-class travel payment from anywhere in the world. Beyoncé received a record $6 million for a 45-minute concert, during which she performed specially adapted versions of her hits with Bollywood music elements. For this performance, a separate stage worth $2 million was created with holographic projections and a sound system that allowed each guest to hear music in perfect quality regardless of location. Isha changed 15 different outfits, each costing over $100,000. The main dress was created by Italian craftsmen using gold threads and 100,000 crystals, and its creation took 8 months. Wedding jewelry included a diamond necklace worth $80 million that once belonged to the Maharani of Jaipur. The menu was prepared by 100 chefs from around the world, including specially invited molecular gastronomy masters. Guests enjoyed dishes from 25 different world cuisines, and wines were selected from the finest collections of France and Italy. Even the air in the palace was scented with special essences created by perfumers from Grasse. And finally, the absolute record holder, the wedding of the century, which is still considered the most expensive in human history. On July 29, 1981, the entire world froze in front of televisions, watching the fairy tale ceremony at St. Paul's Cathedral in London. Princess Diana entered the cathedral in a dress with a 25-foot, 7.6-meter train created by the design team of David and Elizabeth Emanuel. The dress was decorated with 10,000 pearls and crystals, and its cost was £115,000 sterling, about $2 million today. The dress creation took 5 months, and a team of 50 seamstresses worked on it. 750 million viewers in 74 countries watched the live broadcast, making this wedding the most watched event in television history at that time. In Britain alone, 39 million people gathered around televisions, 280% of the entire country's population. The wedding celebration included 27 different cakes from the world's best confectioners, and the main cake weighed 225 pounds, 102 kilograms, and had 5 tiers. Each tier symbolized different aspects of British history and culture. The cake was so large that Prince Charles' sword was used to cut it. Buckingham Palace was transformed into the center of a grand reception for 3,500 guests, including kings, presidents, and the planet's most famous people. The menu included 118 lobsters, 27 kilograms of salmon, 40 kilograms of strawberries, and 300 bottles of Krug, 1,969 champagne. The wedding day was declared a public holiday in Britain, and London streets were filled with 1 million people who came to see the wedding of the century with their own eyes. Security was provided by 10,000 police and military personnel, and the airspace over the capital was guarded by RAF fighters. The biggest intrigue of Bezos's wedding is related to his bride. Lauren Sanchez recently made a spaceflight on a Blue Origin rocket, along with Katy Perry and CBS host Gayle King. This is the first wedding in history where the bride flew to space on the groom's rocket. Insiders claim that the spaceflight was not just an adventure, but a rehearsal for the wedding's grand finale. According to unofficial information, Bezos is planning launch of a special Blue Origin rocket from the Venetian Lagoon, holographic projection of wedding photos in space, possible newlyweds' flight around Earth as part of the honeymoon. What exactly is planned for the final night of the wedding? So far, this is the biggest secret of the entire ceremony, but sources speak of something that will make the world hold its breath. The moment of truth has arrived. According to our calculations, based on exclusive information, leaks from insiders, and analysis of all hidden costs, Bezos's wedding costs. Officially declared figures: $10 to $76 million. Real cost, according to our calculations: $180 to $220 million. This makes Bezos's wedding the most expensive private wedding in human history, even surpassing the royal wedding of Charles and Diana in private expenses. Why such a colossal difference between official and real figures? Because most invisible expenses are not included in public statistics. Detailed breakdown of hidden cost. Venice's lost revenue: $25 million. Resident compensation: $8 million. Additional security due to protests: $12 million. Environmental fines and cleanup: $15 million. Unofficial deals with authorities: $30 million. Mysterious space finale: $25 million. PR campaign to overcome negativity. $18 million. Comparison with Bezos's wealth. For Bezos, with his fortune of $231 billion, even $220 million represents only 0.095% of his wealth. This is equivalent to someone with $100,000 spending $95 on a wedding. During the time of viewing this video, Bezos's fortune grew more than his wedding costs. As Venice's golden waters shimmer beneath the extravagant fireworks of Jeff Bezos's wedding, they reflect not just opulent grandeur but the twilight of an era where wealth equaled unchecked privilege. Over the 44 years since Princess Diana's iconic 1981 wedding, society's perspective on luxury has undergone a seismic shift, redefining wealth as a mantle of responsibility rather than a license for excess. Royal weddings once wove nations together in shared joy and pride, yet Bezos's Venetian spectacle, with its staggering record-breaking budget, has fractured public sentiment, igniting unprecedented outrage. The protests sweeping Venice, from its historic canals to global cities like Paris and New York, mark a pivotal moment. Wealth must now bow to accountability, not wield unchecked dominion. This wedding could redefine society's tolerance for ostentatious displays of affluence. The world no longer stands silent as one individual's whims disrupt an entire city, displacing residents and harming fragile ecosystems. In an age grappling with climate crises and stark social inequalities, a pressing question emerges. Can even the planet's richest evade responsibility? These protests may herald a new era where wealth demands ethical stewardship, not indulgence, challenging the notion that money can buy impunity in a world yearning for justice, sustainability, and equity.